Welcome everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Before we pray, I'm asking everyone to have a moment of silence to honor the life of Mr. Ray Payne and also to show our deepest sympathies and concern for our friend and fellow city service person, Alderman George Payne.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight and we just ask you to be with the Payne family, Lord, and we pray that you would send your Holy Spirit to comfort the family in this time of need. Lord, let them remember the good times and think about those. And Heavenly Father, we also ask you to touch our friends in Nashville who suffered the tornado, Lord, that you would also be with them and that you would send workers to help them in their time of need, Lord. Bless our meeting and give us wisdom to make good decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes for two meetings. The first one is February 18, 2020, regularly scheduled meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 18th, 2020 with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Meadows.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Now, is there a motion to approve the special meeting, minutes of the special meeting on February 27, 2020?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of February 27th, 2020 with any additions, deletions, or corrections. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. The next item on the agenda, there's still information being prepared for that. We erroneously did not remove that, so that will be discussed at a later date, so we'll pass over that. Next on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the issuance of a general obligations bond for sale in Mississippi Development Bank not to exceed $15 million. Mr. Nick Manley.
This resolution, as we discussed at the last board meeting, we were talking about the refunding bond. This will authorize the issuance of a GO bond to the sale to Mississippi Development Bank in the amount not to exceed $15 million. Authorize the mayor to sign the resolution and the exhibits to include the bond purchase agreement, the bond sales agreement, and the indentures agreements. And give after the meeting, we'll actually sign those tonight and approve, so we can get the state bond attorney and begin the validation process with the chancery court. So it can close in the next couple of weeks. So any questions I'll be happy to answer, but that's what the action is for tonight.
Read this. Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution authorizing and directing the issuance of a general obligation bond series 2020 of the City of Southaven for the sale to the Mississippi Development Bank for total aggregate principal amount not to exceed $15 million and authorize you to sign as presented on this date. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Meadows.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are Civil Link work orders for two projects, the Pepper Chase Drive extension project and the conversion of natural turf to artificial turf at Snowden and Greenbrook Parks. Mr. Dan Cordell.
Mayor and Board, as the mayor said, have two different work authorizations. One's for the pepper shade extension, basically between where it is now at the Lender Center down to a termination point at either, probably on 51 down around just north of Star Landing. We're trying to get into Star Landing Road, but it does not look like that's going to be possible. This is part of the grant, the DIPA grant work that is involved with Medline facility.
Joel?
And I'm requesting y'all's approval of the work authorization and authorization for the mayor to sign that.
So moved. Second.
Okay, on the Pepper Chase Drive extension, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion?
Well, we'll come back to get authorization to it.
I'm saying you go to bid. You want to go ahead?
Yes, can we have that amended?
Can I amend that to add the words go to bid?
Okay, so Alderman Gallagher amended the motion to include authorization to bid the project. And then Alderman Wheeler, will you second that again?
Second.
So Alderman Wheeler seconds that. So again, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
The next one is authorization for us to proceed with the Greenbrook and Snowden field conversions to turf. It would include the design and construction administration for those fields. We have a window between roughly the last week in July and about mid-March to have those installed. So right now, we're looking at a tight schedule, so we're asking for approval to proceed if that's,
And go to bid?
and go to bid.
I'll make that motion. And go to bid as well.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right, next on the agenda is the resolution to give our firearm to Donna Holloway.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution of the Mayor Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven presenting Officer Donna Holloway her service weapon in recognition of her retirement for this city, as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? We want to thank Officer Holloway for her service for many years. And this is a token of that appreciation. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is authorization for the Southaven Fire Department to accept donation. This is from the town.
Doesn't have a, it doesn't have anything for me to read.
It's just put this on minutes of authorization from, I accept donation from FireNet for Southaven Fire Department tonight. So
Wait to vote on or just,
go ahead, just authorizing to accept it.
okay, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution to clean private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution granting authority to clean private property as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in the properties that would like to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Booth.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook. Before Whitney starts with item 1, I'm going to step out of this discussion. Item 1 is regarding putting passive gates at the Grove Meadows subdivision. That's where I reside. So for that reason, I'm going to step out. Alderman Brooks is going to preside over the conversation. Before I leave, I do want to add one thing. The political goofballs in our city have already done what I knew would happen. I see some of my neighbors in the audience. Welcome. They've already done what I knew would happen. They turned this into a political issue. As all of you know, we've been neighbors for many years. Never have I been to a meeting with the HOA and requested gates. I've lived in this subdivision since I built a house in 2004. Bought a lot there in 2003. In 2002, it was developed with gatehouses. So there's been discussion about adding gates here since its inception in 2002. I'll be very candid and transparent with everybody. I really am indifferent to the gates, but I want to be a good neighbor, and I'm just asking the board, please don't punish my neighbors because the mayor lives in their subdivision. Okay, it's not fair to them. They're citizens of Southaven, and please honor their request. It is fair to note again that I am totally indifferent to it, one way or the other. I just want to be, my wife and I want to be good neighbors. We did not sign the petition, but we just want to be good neighbors. So y'all have a good discussion.
Very good.
Proceed.
Okay. As the mayor stated, the subdivision was designed for gated access in the county prior to the annexation by the City of Southaven. Our new ordinance, which was adopted last year, has some specific items that are required by subdivision to meet the request. 75% of property owners have to petition for the gates. Specs have got to be submitted to staff for review, also by the police chief and the fire marshal for safety apparatus accessibilities. There needs to be a map identifying where the gated systems will be, public hearing signs at both points of the proposed area, signage on the area as well. Our city attorney provided us an AG opinion last year also stating that if the gates are restricted at any point in time to the open public, that the roads could become private. So what you have before you is an application for a passive gate system for the Grove Meadows subdivision. You'll see on the map over there where the two yellow points are, Lester Road and Getwell Road both have an access point. They are requesting to do pairs of gates at each entry point, so instead of one large swinging gate with the dual gates, they're requesting those to be passive. You have an email attached with a response by both the police chief and the fire chief that have inspected the site and also the specs and are concurrent with the approval. You also will have the petition that the mayor noted that has 75% of the property owners on there. There was a large discussion at the planning commission. We did have one commissioner that recused himself for living in the subdivision. We also had another commissioner that voted no, feeling as though it was a negative impact to the city. The recommendation from staff was that it was in fact a traffic control tool. It was also a property value increase. And it also assisted our police. We've already talked to them about actually having cameras mounted on it as well to help assist with monitoring up and down Getwell Road. So it was the recommendation of staff that they had met all of the criteria and that we felt it was a positive benefit to the subdivision. The discussion ended where we had pedestrian and bicycle capabilities to enter the property. They wanted to know how they could get there since there's a passive gate, how could they drive up or walk up and have it open. It was talked about either doing a separate walk-through gate over to the side or having a push button to allow it to open. The subdivision did agree to that. It was also discussed about the signage. In our ordinance, it does say that a sign has got to be on the gate to notify the public that it is open roads, open to the public. We did not have any verbiage in that ordinance, so it was suggested to the planning commission to come up with some verbiage. Whatever this verbiage is, though, will be used for all the other gated systems. The suggestion was a black sign with white reflection wording on it. The signage to say public access gate/road. And that was the recommendation that was voted for approval at the planning commission.
So, real quick, so Chief Scallions and Chief Moore both signed off on this as far as safety goes?
Tim Rowland,
Tim
actually,
Rowland,
was the
okay.
one who signed off on it. One, he wanted to make sure that there was no plans in the near future to widen that area. There is not. Our widening project does end at Sterling Road. So we can make sure stacking down Getlow would not become an issue. He felt that the way the street was now, where the gates were proposed, it would be a problem. Chief Moore did sign off on it from the safety aspect of the police department.
Okay.
It's one of those gates to where one vehicle goes through at a time and it closes in between, or as soon as someone pulls up, it remains open?
Don't get me the line on that. I know that the passive gate system, when you pull up, it has a certain amount of time it swings. If another car pushes into the opening while it's still open, normally it will swing back open. It's monitored on a sensor.
Yeah, the HOA would more than likely be responsible if it did damage to a car, so they're gonna.
Right, it's a sensor operated one, like the normal one. So like I said, it's made to have one car pass through, but they also close pretty slowly. So if somebody else was to jump the car back in, then the sensors would open it back up.
Well, I got a question to what you just said, though. If it does hit a car on our public street, Nick, would we have any liability on that?
No, I mean, it's not our gate.
But it's our street, it's a public street, though. That wouldn't give us any kind of,
I don't think it'd be any different than a pothole. I think we would have immunities, and then I don't think it'd be any different than I don't know of any, I mean, obviously somebody can see whatever they want, but I'm not sure how, the way of an open close, I don't know how to actually get someone. You know, if the car's too close to the gate, and you said that's how the city's fault from that standpoint, so I don't think that, I mean, obviously someone can city sue, I don't think the city would assume liability in that instance. And I think the ordinance also requires an insurance certificate.
Yes, and that's noted in your staff report that you'll see there is a minimum $1 million insurance policy. We're supposed to be secondarily insured on that.
Or additional insurance.
Yeah, additional insurance.
Wendy, could there be something added to that sign that says, telling people how to access it, like pull the gate and gate opens or something like that?
I mean, the wording is kind of up to the vote here. There's no specific. I researched it. They say all kinds of things.
I mean, I think it's, you know, what you had so far is good, but it doesn't give you any direction on how to, how the general public would access it.
The only thing I would say is we want to be as simplified as possible, because the more wording we get, the smaller the wording gets, and the harder it is for somebody to get up and detect and read.
How
So,
big a sign are we talking about?
well, we were going to go, and it was also not a suggestion. There's not anything in the ordinance. I was going to suggest a standard street sign, speed limit type signage, which you suggested like an 18 by 24. That's not overly huge, but like I said, the main thing is you don't want to get the writing too jumbled, too small, to where somebody, by the time they pull up to read it, it's all over the gates. You want to see it clear and legible from before they pull in, I would imagine. So we're trying to simplify it as much as possible. And I don't know what the magic words are for there. Passive gate, I don't know if people have the passive in there, public access,
What are other cities doing? I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Well, a lot of them don't have a notice sign on. A
State
lot
law
of it
says
is
we've
mounted
gotta
over,
have
and you can
notice.
also have them mounted over, not on the gate, actually mounted on the columns beside it, we found that. Most of them did have public road, or public gate, or open access to public. I mean,
like
very
public gate.
simplified.
I mean, that's pretty simple.
The state law doesn't require just an AG opinion.
Right.
Or recommendation, that's why it was included in the ordinance, but there's no state law that regulates.
It needs to be kept simple, because people aren't gonna read the sign.
Right.
And honestly, people who pull up to that gate are gonna know how to operate, whether it be visitors or homeowners.
Like I said, I almost feel like by the time you get up there to read, I mean, it's, unless you have this great eyesight.
Is it any different than like apartment complexes where you have to, you dial in? And you have
There
to
will
call?
not be the punch code access, that would be restrictive, but there will be, if we do the pedestrian concept.
So I'm getting at, I mean, I guess the neighborhood, it's not like it's precedent. You know, on Church Road, there's apartments, not the same thing.
So I mean, I guess from this board, I need a final approval suggestion on the wording and the signage.
I like public gate. How do y'all feel?
I'm good with that.
So what is,
The homeowner here, do you all have an opinion as to what you want on the sign?
Well, there's a couple of things. One thing you mentioned, what we're doing is putting a strip.
real quick, you state your name so we
Oh,
know.
Bobby Wharton. Oh, Bobby Wharton.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that we're doing, when you drive up, there'll be a strip. Just like a, like a magnetic strip, it'll pick up your car, it'll open the gate. There'll also be like your garage door, a sensor there. If you park right in the middle of the gate, it won't shut until that beam is back across again. So that's safety on that part. It just feels like we're actually completing the subdivision by doing what we're doing, and it's traffic control also. We have a lot of cars on Getwell now, and they go down to Leicester, and they turn right on Leicester. It's a very hard turn. And so our little small 3/4 mile loop subdivision, we're getting cars cutting into Grove Meadows and running about 50 miles an hour around the other side to pop out of Leicester. And we got kids, we're 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. We have kids, young kids out there, and we're trying to protect that too. We're into the integrity of that. But the gate-wise, it's extremely safe. One of the reasons we're putting the push button is because we had people that like to walk through there. And so they'll be able to walk up, push a button, and go in. The gates will slowly open, and there'll be a double gate, and they'll slowly come back in. They won't have to worry about, like say, if a car stops in the middle of it, it's not going to close on them or anything. That beam has to reinstate itself like the garage door will. The same thing.
Do you have any ideas on what you want the wordage to say, Mr. Warden?
The only thing that they mentioned in the planning commission was just a public road, and not public gates, but a public road. That way, if it's not designated. If it's a private road, we have to keep it up. It's a public road. It's the city and city's road. And
Gentlemen, you okay with that?
I'm fine with road.
Fine. Mr. With
So
that?
we're simplifying it down to public
Yeah.
road.
Public road. I'll make the motion that we approve item number 1 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
And it'll say public road on there?
And it says public road.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Flores,
18 by 24 solid.
second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any more discussion among the board?
We've got a couple other passive gates. Do they have signs on them as well?
They do not. Those were in place before this one, but as I explained to planning commission, once we get the signage down as to what we want them to say, we're going to retroactively go to those gates and ask them to place those on those as well.
Not retroactive, just enforce the ordinance.
Well, those are already there. So you don't want me to do that again?
We're gonna enforce the ordinance moving forward.
What is that?
So any more discussion amongst the board? Anybody else in the audience who want to speak on this? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, you got item 2. Wait for the mayor to come back in. You'll get it. Thanks, Lindy. What's this?
He's listening.
Item 2.
Yes, sir.
Item number 2, we have an application for a revision to the Flower Creek subdivision. It's going to be on the north side of Goodman Road, west of Flower Creek Drive. What they're basically wanting to do is take lot 1E, which has 1.835 acres, and split it into a secondary lot. That would increase the size of that lot to 1.32 acres and the lot 1G to 0.46 acres. It's basically going to be used as an extension for a parking lot for the adjacent property owner. It does comply with the commercial subdivision regulations, and we recommend its approval. It was voted unanimously in favor of.
That's George's thing. Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion?
Is this going to take care of that issue that we had?
This will take care of that issue, yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on item 2? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 3 is an application by Reginald Spike for subdivision approval of the Spike subdivision. This is going to be on the south side of College Road, east of Getwell. The applicant is proposing 4 lots ranging in size from 0.57 acres to 1.39 acres. In a previous board meeting, he was rezoned from agricultural to R20, which was compliant with the surrounding area and the comprehensive plan. This is on Woods Lane, which everybody knows, we've had, emergency service complaints on that road. It is a very small 15-foot wide road that was annexed, years ago. With a major subdivision, which is zoned into agricultural and more than 3 lots, all of your road improvements come into play. So once this was submitted to us, we got with the EMT, fire department as well, police department, and as we suspected, they were suggesting to do a typical 24-foot wide road, standard utilities put in place. So the conditions on this approval stated that we wanted the road to be 24 feet, so we would have two-way accessibility. Fire department could get their apparatuses down there. Water and sewer could be pulled down from College Road. Getting here tonight, the applicant is here, and he would like to speak on behalf of this. He would like to see if there's some leniency available on the utilities and the road requirements. I did explain to him that there's a way to reduce the cost if he was to reverse his zoning down to agricultural and do 3 lots or less, then it takes a lot of those stipulations off of him. So I think after he speaks with you, we can make a determination if he wants to proceed forward with the application. So his name is Reginald Spike.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Reginald Spike to the mayor to the board.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was coming tonight to, I've been living here at Woods Lane in College Road about 14 years, and I access my property from off Woods Lane along with my neighbors. And so all I'm doing is really subdividing from my main lot and added 3 additional lots. And it has running water already, so, but when I was informed about the road and having the cost for all of that and expansion and things like that, so when I'm coming tonight to actually the board and the mayor for relief on that.
Release from what, Mr. Spring?
From the recommendation from the city about getting the road in compliance, because of the road is not compliant right now for us. It need to be widened. The cost on that, the cost on the sewer, water, which I do have water right there that I can just tap into. So I've been there for about 14 years now. So I access Woods Lane with the rest of my neighbors for that many years. So, yeah, so.
Is it a public road, Whitney, or is it a private road?
It is a public road. It's not to our typical standards because we annexed it from the county as a road as it is. But we do not have a typical design standard for this width. Chief Scallions can probably better answer the question from a fire apparatus standpoint. They require a minimum of 20 feet to get their fire trucks back and forth. Woods Lane has been a serious issue for us trying to get down there to serve emergency situations. So I mean, I can let Chief Scallions speak a little bit more on
How
behalf
wide
of
is
that.
it now?
I'm sorry?
How wide is it now?
It's around 15 feet.
So we're 5 feet short.
How would, you said there's no sewer there? How are they gonna sewer their houses?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that because the public water is water that I can tap right into. But I have a septic system.
Yeah, but they just walk right here, though.
And that's, I think that was an issue that Ray brought up, and he's here as well. The utility department
You're not
identified.
big enough for a septic system on those, it's gotta be like 2 acres.
Oh, well, I'm aware of that, yeah, but like I said, I was just subdividing from my main lot, these 3 additional lots. I'm not a developer,
Yeah.
and it's just something that my family and I was doing, so until this came, so
Unsellable
I'm like,
lots, right?
I'm asking for relief. Thank you.
Thank you.
With the, so why have we not widened the road? I mean, I'm confused.
Well, that, if I may, I've been involved in many, many discussions recently about this. And you'll hear more about this. These roads were in the county.
Right.
So when we, and Nick can tell you, but when we do an annexation, you get it as is.
Right.
So they were not built up to city specifications to be a city street. But it became a city street by way of annexation. So that's why it doesn't meet what we would require on a new city street because of annex. It was built when it was in the county. Is that correct, Nick?
Correct.
And I will note that south of this, there was a subdivision approved in 0506 Acre Woods, 26 lots. Those requirements were put on that. Well, then, of course, the recession hit, and that kind of died down. We have a developer now who has done a lot of residential in the city that is looking into taking that. So we've already informed him of the road issue and utility issues down south of here, but unfortunately for Mr. Spike, that won't address his portion of the road.
So what are,
So it's only 5 feet short?
It's 5 feet short of the 20-foot requirements for fire apparatus. From a typical street section design, we require 24 feet. So it's 12 feet coming this way and 12 feet going that way, so people can cross, directional flow of the traffic. So our suggestion was to go on and get it up compliant with 24. The smallest widths we've ever approved as a typical street section is 22 feet.
Is there, the road is existing now, on down past these lots?
It goes 15 feet it goes 15 feet south for, I want to say around 2,000 feet, and then it takes a 90-degree turn to the east, and it's a private drive from there. But there are additional houses that are all down that area. That, I know the fire department's had to serve ambulatory services and fire services.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Alderman.
It's going to be developed into a larger neighborhood.
On the west side of Woods Lane, there is a proposal for 26 new lots. It has not come yet. They did come and speak to us about 2 weeks ago and wanted to bring that one back up to the table. We've informed him he is a true developer, so he does have the money. He knows what's expected of the road and utilities and things like that. So Mr. Spider's obviously a little different.
Right. And then tie into the road we're discussing here?
Yes, it's actually part of Woods Lane, so it would definitely tie in. It's just going to be south of here, so you'll have this gap.
Right. Just my personal opinion, I feel as though if it's going to be developed into something eventually, we might as well go and get it done.
I'm sorry, Christian, what'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I was just saying that if it's going to be developed eventually, we might as well go ahead and get it done.
Okay. And then what's the issue with the sewer again?
It's Ray. Can you talk on the sewer? I know Daniel was the one that was discussing it with Robbie.
Come on up here.
Daniel will come up and talk. Ray will come up and talk.
We can't hear y'all back there in Fernando.
Thanks, Chief.
Sorry.
I believe these previous lots that he was talking about, we were planning on just putting pressure sewer in there, which we could do. Not going to really be an issue, I don't think.
I'm on the southwest corner of College. And this is his house.
So we do have sewer relatively available, and plus,
At college?
yes. So,
And looking at this, it's approximately 737.3 linear feet of Woods Lane from College down for all 4 of these lots proposed.
So is Mr. Spike going to put those sewer lines in? Is that what we're asking him to do?
When it turns into a major subdivision, which right now because of the zoning and the number of lots, yes, it is the developer's responsibility to get their lots, the sewer, and the road improvements. And that's what I explained to him. The only way to take a lot of these requirements off of him, which I'm not sure that the utilities would come into play, but the road would, is if he turned into a minor lot subdivision, which requires him to reverse the zoning from R20 back to agricultural, and you can only have 3 lots. So his lot and 2 additional lots. So that would be the option to take that road improvement off of him.
Mr. Spike, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm open. I just, we got it set up, and it had already been approved all the way to this point, to the recommendation. So,
Let me ask you this. Long-term, what is your family's plan for this? Are you planning on putting your family another 2 houses on, residences on?
yeah, it's long-term, yeah.
Long-term?
Yes, long-term.
So you went back to 2 lots, that would suffice, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm sitting on 1 lot now, and I'm just,
I meant 2 additional lots.
yeah, I'm open to that, yeah. But, like I said, we wanted the 3 because it was half-acre lots, so it's just 3 additional half-acre lots. And there's other, my neighbors, they have homes, like 2 or 3 homes sitting on their lot. I guess they have an egress type of way, access to get there, so from off Woods Lane. So my property's right on the front of the Woods Lane, all the lots. And I turn into my lot, main lot, from off Woods Lane as well. I've been doing it for 14 years, so the other lot's just right there south of me.
But you understand, though, there's a serious issue with emergency services, and your safety and your family's safety, and everybody else on that road would be the most important. So Mr. Woods would have to cover the cost to widen the road, is that correct?
At least from the center line over in his direction, which would gain possibly enough linear footage to get the emergency services, but
If he keeps the fourth lot.
if he keeps the fourth lot and we keep him at R20, you know, he and I talked just before this, he's got enough acreage to comply with the 1 acre minimums for agricultural, reduce down to just 3 lots, and reverse the zoning that we approved, I think, 2 board meetings ago, and reverse back to that.
In order to do that, would he have to go back to floor plan?
With a minor lot subdivision, yeah, we'd have to adjust it and go back in front of them, and we could come back in front of this, in front of you for a vacate of that zoning, and then a revision to a minor lot subdivision, yes.
I'll ask you this, Mr. Spot. I would suggest that you walk away from here tonight seriously considering of your family to go back to just the 3 lots. I think that makes it a lot easier on you, until the rest of those other subdivisions become a reality and you're gonna have a developer pay for that. That's my suggestion to you.
Can I add something here? I mean, I've got kind of a problem here now. If we've got a road that's too narrow that we've annexed in to provide fire safety down there, we should have already fixed that road. We need to go in there and widen it. It wouldn't be running the sewer lines and stuff like that. If we widen it to our standard width, would that already be going in? If we had already done what we should have done? I mean, I think, you know, if this road's dangerous, then maybe we need to look at that and get that fixed. I mean, because it's a problem.
Well, I would agree with your statement. However, you're leaving out a very important piece of information. This is not the only road like that. And you got your checkbook out?
Well, I mean, we may have to look at that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, a lot of these decisions were made, and again, I wasn't there when the decision was made, but in my opinion, had I been an advocate for the city at that time, before I would have annexed anything, I would have wanted to know about the infrastructure. I wouldn't have put that burden on the city.
Right.
Unfortunately, that has happened in a lot of cases, that we took streets that were not built to city specifications. So you're kind of asking us to go back and correct a lot of problems of the past that we didn't have a voice in, you know, in a short amount of time. So
This is no different than
it's not
having a fire
unusual.
plug or something like that.
Exactly.
So, I mean, cities legally have time to do that, and sometimes it takes 15 years. I mean,
How long does this annexation happen? How long has it been there?
Years, pardon me. And we can certainly look at it, knowing that there's a development coming south of there, and I can check with that developer and find out how serious he is. He's pretty aggressive and he does a lot here now. I can see, you know, how quickly he's wanting to go down there. Maybe it's something we can co-op with eventually or something like that, but I mean, that's gonna be a call from the Board of Aldermen.
wait a minute.
I was trying to, you know, this is Mark, this is the developer to the south, or the proposed possible developer to the south. You know, if you think about it.
I haven't even closed on the property.
And that's why I wasn't mentioning anything, because it may or may not come to fruition, so.
I basically just wanted to see what was involved with Mr. Spike. And I would be interested in taking those 3 lots and including that. Or,
That's
you know,
gonna be up to you two, Jim.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
he was trying to do it for family.
and I would talk to him about that because I know the road needs to be widened. I've got to bring the sewer out.
Okay.
And I'm
Well,
gonna
what's
try to
suggested
get
in my staff report that we get you two in contact with each other and see if they couldn't work out a deal and get everything done at one time, just made a little bit more sense.
I would do it on table. I'm gonna make a motion to table it until Mr. Spike and
I'm sorry, Mark Edlin?
Mr. England get together and figure out what they wanna do.
I'm not, that's gonna pique my interest to sell it, and I really wanted to, you know, like an extra relief from the mayor and the board, you know, to, you know, proceed with my, you know.
But even at that, Mr. Spike, you're gonna have to talk with your family and figure out if you wanna take it back down to 3 lots. or-
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I want to
I understand.
I want to make sure you have the time to meet with all of your family and figure out what exactly what you want to do to come before us. And then at that point, I think we can make a decision.
Okay, and another thing, if I've been accessing that road and it's not, it hasn't been up to standard for the 14 years that I've been there, and I understand that it is narrow. You know, not safety is first for us, but I'm saying that, you know, as a taxpayer, you know, been there for that long, and we've been having that road, you know, safety issues all this time, and once when I brought that I wanted to, you know, split off the main lot to add 3 additional lots, then the recommendation came over, oh,
Well, I think that's because you're adding more traffic, more people on that road, more possibility of it being blocked with a fire truck or any, something like that. The more you place on there, the heavier the concern gets for the compliance.
But it's not even something that's, like I said, this is long term,
I understand.
Who built the road originally?
The county.
That road's been there for many, we're talking about
Decades.
30, 40 years ago. So this is not something, again, something that popped up overnight. And just to be fair, Mr. Spike, just to make sure, what was your, and I respect Alderman Flores wanting to table it, but just to be fair with the full board and with you, what was your request specifically tonight?
I just wanted relief from the recommendation, with
With the road.
To have 4 lots and not have to do anything to the road, that was,
yeah, I wanted to add
Yeah.
additional lots.
okay. So first of all, is anyone that wants to make the motion to give him relief of that?
I think it sets a bad precedent.
Yeah. So I know, I'm not disagreeing with anything, I'm just trying to be fair with the procedures here tonight in honor of his request. He came forward, so the board, he asked. So is there anyone on the board that would like to make that motion? I'm not hearing any. Okay, so then, there was a motion made by Alderman Flores to table the discussion, and then,
I'll second.
okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion about tabling it?
My take
Yeah,
on it.
I think we got a lot to work out.
Mr. Spike can do with his family and come back and determine.
Yeah.
This is really what I want.
Yeah, but you see what I'm talking about? I just want to honor his first request first,
I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah. So is there any other discussion about tabling it? We have a first and a second. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll table the discussion for more information.
Thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
sir,
Mr.
thank
Spike,
you.
are you, Mr. Spike, are you related to Melvin Spike? Different name, he's from New Orleans, we served in the military together, so I haven't seen your name very often.
I pastored a church in Memphis for
Okay.
over 22 years, and I think that name came across as translation.
In New Orleans, Mississippi. Okay, just checking, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming forward.
Our next application is for design review for a new restaurant to be located on Lot 5 of Silo Square Subdivision. This is going to be on the west side of Getwell. This will be on the south side of the newly constructed May Boulevard. You'll see from the drawings and the renderings, if we go back up, yes. This is a 2-story rooftop patio type establishment. They are proposing to have live music venues on that second floor and private parties, as well as open for brunch and things like that. The menu was added into this just for informational purposes. We had no comments to recommend for the building. We felt it was a very good looking building. It fell in line with everything. It's what we wanted for that district area. We did have some recommendations on the landscaping, which is being addressed by the applicant right now. They did agree to those. We did ask for the acorn lighting, which is uniform through Silo Square, as well as the new commercial developments. They did agree to that. So with those comments, we recommended approval.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we approve item number 4 on the planning agenda as approved as presented tonight.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores and a second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion regarding item 4?
What about you said live music outside?
Live venue upstairs on the rooftop.
That'll be subject to the current code that we have now as far as.
Yes, they will fall in line with all of our events.
So they'll work that out with Chief and Warren.
They have, and we did talk to them about the fact that they're going to be directly across from the amphitheater, so what we didn't want to do was
Gotcha.
have some conflicting noise, so there'll be something worked out there as well.
Okay. Also there's going to be residents in that neighborhood as well, so, all right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 That motion carries.
Our final application is again a design review application for 2 spec distribution buildings. These are going to be on the west side of Highway 51 north of Star Landing. You have Medline that's under construction now. This is going to be not directly across the street, but it's going to be just north of there in front of the Memphis Stone and Gravel excavation area. The 2 specs buildings are going to be on one large lot, as you can see right there. Standard design for them is concrete panels. They're in beige coloring. We did ask them to tone down their accent color, which was called Torchlight, and they agreed to that. They did do some raised parapet lines to break up the monotony of the walls. In part of their landscaping, there was some overhead doors facing Highway 51, so we have put a heavy landscape barrier along that area. Their proposed access points is something we will not be approving. It's Highway 51, so it's a state road, so they'll be filing a permit with them. We have also sent this development over to MDOT to inform them there's yet 2 more large-scale distribution buildings going on site. Hopefully ask for some relief on, Highway 51. They responded back to us with nothing definitive yet. We did ask them to remove all the softwoods. They had a lot of proposed pines on site. As you know, we got a lot of wind lines here, a lot of storms. It takes a lot of trees down, so they're reversing out of their proposal for soft pines, and they're putting hardwood trees there, so they'll make those adjustments. Also add the decorative lighting at the entry points once we figure out where those are. They agreed to all that, so we recommend approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item number 5 on the planning agenda as presented. Second.
On item 5, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Burke.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our mayor's report, and just want to update quickly just a couple of things. As we had on the agenda earlier, the Pepper Chase Drive extension is a project that has been worked on extensively, or I should say discussed extensively. That road will provide much needed relief to the traffic congestion at Church Road and Interstate 55. That'll help with Landers Center events, and also is another escape route or an exit route for Medline, which they desperately needed to bring their operation to our city. So it's a big deal to start that process. The city did receive money from the Mississippi Development Authority of $3.7 million. There's an agreement with the county to pick up the difference, which equates to about $250,000 for a city, $250,000 for county. We're in discussions now on 2 pieces of right-of-way, but we expect to move forward with that project as quickly as we can. That ties into a larger project that has also been discussed with the City of Horn Lake and DeSoto County, and extending Pepper Chase also to the north to connect to Nell Road. So ideally, long-term, if you had a connection between Nell Road all the way to Star Landing, or just north of Star Landing, as Mr. Cordell mentioned, Highway 51, that does tremendous things for both traffic congestion mitigation and also economic development in Horn Lake and Southaven. So it's a great project. I just wanted to shed a little more light on how important that is. It's a pretty big deal that we're moving forward with designing that. So anyway, we appreciate Civil Link getting started on that project. We appreciate the County Convention and Visitors Bureau, as that road will go around the Landers Center, and obviously appreciate the cooperation with the property owners to the south near Highway 51 that recognize the value of this extension as well. So along with that discussion, there are a lot of moving parts in that area. It's no secret that one of the biggest traffic congestion concerns that we have is Interstate 55 and Church Road. MDOT is aware of that. It's been heavily discussed. It's just a construction funding issue. Now the Star Landing interchange has been combined with the Church interchange, as we now know that area needs more help than just a widening of the interstate and a reworking of Church Road. We're going to need a Star Landing interchange as well. So all that is part of a bigger picture that also relates to Highway 51. As item 5 that's on the agenda is constructed, and then with Medline being constructed just across Highway 51 from that, and the existing DeSoto 55 developments that were built last year, there's an enormous amount of truck traffic that will be fed on Highway 51. Then with other potential developments in the area, there needs to be a total comprehensive plan on how we're going to manage the traffic there. So we have requested, Dan Cordell and I have requested meetings with MDOT. We're going to have more detailed discussions, but just want the city to know and our board to know that we recognize the challenges that development brings to that area, and we understand that traffic congestion mitigation is extremely important, and we do have a plan to work on that. Also related to that, and this is the last thing I have this evening, last year the board voted to approve to extend water lines across Interstate 55 to get to the Medline development. Obviously they have to have fire protection. There is no water there now, so there has to be water lines that are extended to provide fire protection and potable water for that area. So the board agreed to pay for, or to go ahead and approve that project. So Mr. Cordell did oversee the bid process to extend water lines, which is a boring underneath Interstate 55 to get from Old Airways, where it dead ends now, over to the Medline project. And that bid, he's got those numbers, so I'm going to be asking for a motion tonight to approve, to award that bid so that project can go ahead and get started for Medline's benefit.
You don't leave a lot left for me to say. The one thing we didn't mention, and I want to make sure the board's aware of, we're not only providing fire flow at this point, they did come back, and we're now providing potable water and fire flow for Medline. There are actually 2 boring crossing locations across 55, just north of Star Landing. We'll be crossing with a 12-inch line. They're actively in construction. We've given them a date of somewhere around the end of May or middle of June. We actually had, for a change, a successful bid opening that was below our estimate. We're actually going to be able to do both boards for a total of $290,758.40. Our estimate was somewhere around $400,000. So I'm asking for the board's approval to award that contract in the amount of $290,758.40 to Taylor Construction Company, and authorize the mayor to sign all construction documents related to it.
So moved. Mayor, and the authorization by mayor.
Got a motion by Alderman Flores. Do we have a second? A second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? And just one quick note as a reminder, I know the board understands this. When we have something like this, it's not on the agenda. It's because we did not get the bid information until after the agenda was set. But time is somewhat of the essence. That's why we put it on there. If there's ever, as y'all know, if there's ever any concern and you want to delay that, obviously we can.
We don't usually bid on Fridays. We did that to kind of try to expedite. So we don't get the information back till later.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Gray.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hayes.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Meadows.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, sir. Okay, and that's all that I have this evening. Moving on, next on the agenda is our citizens agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Mr. Tim Gardner.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and board. I come before you tonight just to tell you a little bit about what Mayor's Youth Council has been doing, and to thank you. This past weekend, we traveled to Hattiesburg to go to the Mississippi Municipal League Youth Summit. And it was a good event for the students to be involved in. Also, just to thank you for your continued support of youth being energized in our city. One of the big topics this weekend was the brain drain that Mississippi constantly experiences, and it's very good that we are proactive in our city to try and stop that. But again, thank you for that opportunity and that continued thing. And also, I wondered if it would be okay if the chairman of the Mayor's Youth Council could come up and give you all a report about what they saw.
Certainly.
So here comes Sean Andrew.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Members of the board. I'd like to start out by thanking you all for allowing the Mayor's Youth Council to represent the City of Southaven at the conference. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we did while we were there. Before we got to Hattiesburg, we stopped in Jackson and we took a tour of the new Capitol building. While we were there, we got the honor of meeting a recently elected senator, Michael McClendon, who is one of the 3 senators from the county. It was an incredible experience to meet state legislators, and we also got to ask him a few questions about policies that he's implementing. So of course that was a fantastic experience. When we actually got to Hattiesburg, we started off with our keynote speaker in the beginning. Our keynote speaker was named DeMarco Fondy, and he talked a lot about influence and how we can use our passions in life to further our influence and to impact the people around us. And so I thought that this was fantastic because, of course, as people from a younger generation, it's nice to know that we have an ability to change the world around us. Because in the future, of course, we will be the people who are in charge of the government. And it's a fantastic point to make sure that we know what we're doing now. And we make sure that we can use the power we have now to change those so that we're ready for that in the future. After that, there were a few breakout events as well. A lot of them were about community service, of course, and leadership. And some of them were even presented by other youth councils from the cities. And it's always a fantastic experience to get to hear delegations from other cities talk about what their cities like and bring those ideas back home. Not only did I get to learn, and not only did the council get to learn about these other cities, but we also got to learn about what makes Southaven unique. We also got to learn that one of the main advantages of living in Mississippi are the people here. And I think that's something that no other state has, is Mississippians. And I think that there are no better people than you. So I said all this once again to thank you and to make sure that you are just aware as we are that it is an incredibly educational experience and it is an honor to represent our city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good job.
Thank you for coming forward. You did a great job with that. And I know when I was your age, you wouldn't have been able to drag me to that podium. So that's an incredible job of presenting that. And it looks like our future generations are in good hands with leaders like future leaders like yourself. And I appreciate the Mayor's Youth Council and Tim. I appreciate everything that you do. I know you spend a lot of time with that, and it's extremely important. The future, as I say, is it's not so far away. We think of things. We think of students that are in high school, but it's before you know it, these people will be in roles like this. We need future leaders that make good decisions. And so I appreciate all the work of the Youth Council and just appreciate all you do. And you represent the city of Southaven well when you travel, and that's big too. We really appreciate all of you do.
Yeah. I graduated Southaven High School 20 years ago this year, and I've been on this board for 11. So, put in perspective, you can math. It was my 20s when I was elected, so it's not far off as you really think. So, great job.
And if you're going to be stopping by the Capitol, I have a list of things next time you go I'd like you to help me with. Okay. Thanks again. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the citizens' agenda? Hearing or seeing no one, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel document.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the personnel documents presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Meadows.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update. Mr. Nick Manley.
Okay, two quick items. First item is a couple of years ago we entered into a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield with the billing, or to help with the billing and collections for the fire department. So tonight, at this point, we're asking for additional information as part of that program, that contract. So Chief Scaggs is providing information, but tonight is the authorization for Chief Scaggs to sign a recertification with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's the same, the contract's not changing, it's just a recertification that they'll need to sign to allow us to keep using the program upon them providing additional information.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Next item is the trailer at the parks. The parks trailer at Greenbrook needs to be surplus in accordance with the City Code 172525. The West roundabout this, it has no value. So tonight we're requesting to surplus the trailer and get rid of the trailer. basically, so just to have it on our minutes, authorization for the park department to surplus a trailer based on having no value to the city.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is our utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill adjustment docket in the amount of $3,582.52.
Thanks.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are 3 claims dockets. Is there a motion to approve docket 1?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 1, the amount of $3,008,170.26 to include demand checks.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
That motion carries.
I have you.
Okay. So am I next?
Go.
I have you listed next.
All right. Charlie.
Stand up to vote? Yes, we do. All right, Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 2, the amount of $15,894.09.
Second.
Okay, on docket 2, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots. I thought we had.
We got enough.
We got enough.
Oh,
You can do dockets, you can do them both together if you want to.
let's do that.
Yeah, since there's 4 of them here, that's fine.
All right, then I'm gonna amend my motion to add, to also add docket number 3, the amount of $1,229.80.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion has been amended to include docket 2 and 3. Motion made by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Charlie.
Must be comfortable.
Yeah.
Trying to take it,
Okay, is there a motion to determine the need for executive session?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is economic development within our city and citywide personnel. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.
Dan.